of self-isolation due to the coronavirus. We're here to check in today and see how you guys are doing. Tomorrow is supposed to be tax day, personal tax day. I think most of us have already filed our business taxes or asked for those extensions. But tomorrow was going to be the dreaded April 15th personal tax day. I don't know if I'm like you guys where it's been a long time since I've gotten a refund or anything on my taxes. So what happens when you're a business owner sometimes. But shockingly, at least to us, the IRS adapted to the current health and economic situation and extended the deadline, which helps millions of Americans. So we don't have the tax deadline tomorrow. If the IRS can adapt, then we can adapt as well. So how are you adapting, or our favorite word, pivoting, your business right now? Let's talk about 3 small but powerful things that you can start doing today to adapt your firm and future-proof your business.
Thanks, Laura. Yes, the first thing we're going to talk about today that you can do to pivot, yes, that is absolutely our favorite word, is to have video consultations and meetings, which I think a lot of you are doing. I don't know about you guys, but I have been getting invited to a lot of Zoom happy hours, which may not be a good thing, but to try to stay connected. But if you're part of attorney groups on social media or networking organizations, they've probably moved to Zoom, or there's probably a lot of chatter about people moving to Zoom or a similar service for their remote meetings. And they're starting to kind of realize that in-person communication is not necessarily as necessary as they thought, which Laura and I have been preaching this for years. So if you haven't jumped on that bandwagon or haven't really kind of bought into being like remote being a viable way to actually communicate with your clients and even internally, then we want to talk to you here. So let's think about it kind of from your client's perspective. A lot of what we do and how we practice is because it's the way we were taught. That's what we're supposed to do. That's how attorneys operate. And we make these dangerous assumptions that our clients want to see us in person because, of course, that's what we were always told. If we clerked somewhere, that's what we did. That's what they did. And that's what they showed us. But if you really think about it from the client's perspective and the hardship that it actually places on them, you may start to kind of think about it a little differently. So clients usually have to take off work during a regular day. Our hours are typically the same time as most working people hours. Possibly they're going to be losing pay. They have to drive to your office, which, who knows how far that is going to be away from them. Some counties in Arkansas specifically don't even have practicing attorneys, or they might have one, so they have to drive to another county just to get legal representation. So they may have to navigate unknown part of the city or town altogether to just find your address. Some of us are up in fancy towers, and that's not always easy to access. So they have to pay to park and all of that just to kind of have a conversation with you to even see if you're going to be in this attorney-client relationship. So, they're paying for your services, but they have to play by your rules. And that's how law firms forever have been operating and set up. So, why not change those rules to make those things more convenient for everybody involved? Your client or your potential client wants to communicate with you. And if they can do that without leaving the comfort of their office, or right now they're home in their pajama pants, they'll be thrilled and grateful. And for some, it's going to be an adjustment. But right now, during all this, it's really the perfect time, to play around with that and to change that expectation and lay out a new way. And Laura and I, one of the things that we often say is that we, kind of meet clients where they are, and we teach them how to interact with us, because what we don't understand, because this is something as attorneys we do all the time, a lot of times the client's interaction with you is the only interaction they've had with an attorney. So they don't necessarily have a preconceived notion. And some of the notions they may have may be based on TV, which we all know is totally false anyhow. So that is the first one.
I don't know about you, but I kind of grew up in the time of Ally McBeal and that kind of thing. Definitely real. It's definitely on TV. So the second thing we're going to talk about, hey, Joey Vitale, the second thing we're going to talk about is client portals. So let's talk about that in kind of a broader sense first. Do you have a cloud-based practice management system like Practice Panther, Clio, MyCase? There are a bunch of them out there. one of the things that we really like to do when we're speaking on the topic of virtual lawyering, legal tech, or future-proofing your practice is that question. We like to ask if they have a cloud-based practice management system. And the second question that we like to ask is, do you use your client portal inside that practice management system? Every single time, and we speak quite a bit, every single time, more hands go up for the first question and very few, if any, hands go up for the second. That's just kind of the way it is. People often don't know what they already have. So if you're already paying for a practice management system, you likely already have access to a client portal. Right now, we're forced to communicate in a different way based on everything that's happening with the coronavirus and COVID-19 and social shutdown and all that stuff. Now, every state is a little bit different in who's allowed to go to work and that kind of thing. But we're being forced to communicate in this different way with our clients, with opposing counsel, that kind of thing. So we encourage you to embrace the idea of the client portal for your client communication. For us, it's kind of the key component for being a virtual attorney. How we deliver our services to our clients is virtual, and that makes us a virtual law firm, not just virtual practicing attorneys who communicate necessarily with, instead of using email, using the client portal. That's a really good tool, but we also deliver all of our services online through the client portal. So you can message, you can send electronic intake questionnaires, you can share documents, you can edit documents, you can do all sorts of things inside the client portal, and it's more secure and more organized for you. So it's got a benefit for the client, but it also has a real big benefit for the attorney. One thing that we get asked a lot is pushback. Do we have any pushback from clients? Because we don't actually even talk on the phone with our clients. We're entirely virtual, so except for the initial consultation, we do every other communication through the portal. We don't get pushback from our clients. Honestly, people are very surprised to hear that, but we don't. And that's partially because probably fully because we set that expectation at the outset of our representation. It is communicated to them that all of our future dealings will be through their client portal. They also have to initial next to a paragraph in our fee agreement that says that they understand that all of the communications will be in the client portal. So there's no misunderstanding or anything like that. And we honestly don't have any pushback because they do have that instant messaging kind of aspect. And when I say instant messaging, I don't mean that they're going to get an instant response, but if something pops in their head and they can type us a message real quick or tap it out on their phone, and it makes life easier. The making life easier thing, just another quick note about that is that oftentimes the client can even download the practice management system app on their smartphone. They won't have access to anything that you don't give them access to, but they'll be able to message on that app on their phone, inside that app on their phone, just like they would a text message, basically. So it's so much easier for the attorney to respond to a message when they have time to respond to that message that's all in one place. You get an alert that a message has been sent. And, that's a lot easier than trying to find time to return a phone call because you don't know how long you're going to be stuck on the phone. We practice family law, so that's, for those family law attorneys out there, you guys know that sometimes you take forever. And you take forever on the phone. Sorry, I think it's like now that week where I've lost all ability to speak coherently. That's just kind of the way it happens. I got a lot of self-isolation going on over here. So it's you don't have to go hunt for emails. You don't have to go look for things that would have gone into your junk folder. You don't have to delve into your paper files for your communication folder to see how many times they've called you and all that kind of fun stuff. So Joey Vitale said he loves the client portal. So do we. And it's not the wave of the future. It's the wave of now. And honestly, for over 5 years. So it's a really good time to pivot since you're being forced to communicate differently to kind of look into that client portal that you already have in your practice management system.
Exactly. And that's been very helpful for us. you know, everybody having to go remote and go virtual to interact with their clients, you know, that really wasn't a big change for us because we were already doing it there. And so I totally agree with what Laura says. I mean, it is something that needs to be in place. And so those are the first two. The third way to kind of pivot is to change your mindset. And so if you've watched us even one time, probably, you know that we talk about mindset a lot. We think it's very important and it's foundational for your practice. The phrase "the new normal" is used a lot right now, and maybe it's a new normal, maybe it isn't for some of you. We hope that some changes we've been forced to adopt throughout this will kind of stay with us as well. But washing your hands a lot, coughing to your elbow instead of your hand. I know Laura will miss the handshaking. If you know how she vets your confidence, ask her about it sometime. But it was funny because when this all kind of started, we were at a big conference and there weren't any confirmed cases in the United States yet. But Laura was not shaking anybody's hands. And so we were trying to figure out the first day or two when we were there, when people were coming up to introduce themselves, how are we going to navigate this? And so Laura would just kind of come up and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not shaking hands." And then she's like, "Oh, I hope that wasn't rude." And it wasn't. And I know early on I was like, "All right, let's side bump, fist bump." So yeah, it was a nice, fun adaptation. I'm a hugger, so that was not fun for me. But we really want you to also encourage you to check in with yourself. How you're feeling about the forced changes and the way you actually conduct your business. Are you excited? Are you scared? Are you even kind of resentful that you're having to do those things and ready to kind of move back into what you know? You know, don't dismiss those feelings, whether they're positive or negative or kind of a mixture of both. We encourage you to sit with them and figure out why, kind of what's behind those thoughts. You know, the most growth actually comes from that uncomfortable zone. And so I think sometimes we have the tendency to stay in our comfort zone and to keep others around us, even in their comfort zone. We don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable, but we're really doing a disservice to ourselves and to others if we won't sit in that discomfort for a little bit and figure out, you know, what there is to learn. You've really missed a learning opportunity. Uncertainty is very difficult for us as humans, especially as lawyers. And these are uncertain times. I mean, because really it is our job really to, you know, predict what could happen, worst case scenario. I've even had, I do our business law here, and I've had several people reach out like, I don't have anything for this in my contract with my clients. You know, people aren't addressing pandemics necessarily. And so we've had to do a lot of review and editing. So, but what we can do, we can't control these external things, and we don't have to, but what we can do is change our perspective, and we can check in with ourselves and our feelings and really pay attention to those things that we can control. So we can control ourselves. So that's all I've got for mindset.
So we're just going to do a wrap up. We appreciate you guys joining us today. You know, I think a lot of us are glued to our computers and tablets and phones and stuff for Zoom, especially if you have kids and you're having to help them get ready for class and all that stuff in front of a Zoom computer. But we've been an entirely virtual law firm for over 5 years. So we have some tried and true systems and processes that are in place right now for working virtually. Our business has not changed. It's one of those things that I think people are surprised to hear, but we've been set up virtually for a long time. And so how we practice law and how we deliver our services has not changed. We've also practiced, both of us, in the traditional way. That's part of the reason we decided to do it this way. Brooke's brilliant idea that I had the brilliant idea to jump on the bandwagon. But today we mentioned just 3 things to you that you can work towards and pay attention to during this unusual time. If you're interested in embracing a virtual practice in a more long-term and practical way, not going back to the traditional norms that you had before you were forced into this new situation, we just want you to know that we launched a course last week on how to build a virtual law firm. It's a 5-week interactive and in-depth practical application on how to be a virtual lawyer. Our next round is going to begin on May 11th. If you're interested in learning more, please sign up for our newsletter and notifications about the course that will start in May on our website at myvirtual.lawyer/MVL-courses. You can just go to the MVL website and hover over the attorney link, and you'll see a button for courses. We'll see you next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 Central, 11 Mountain, and 10 Pacific. And please feel free to reach out with any questions that you have, attach them to this particular thread. And I'm just going to say, hey, guys, thanks, Dina. She totally agrees with us about the mindset thing. So, so anybody who watches the video, please go look at Dina's relationship as well, or Dina's comments as well. Have a great rest of your week, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.